Let me show you something real quick. This jacket sold for over $400, no brand, no luxury label, no tag at all. After making well over $100,000 net profit selling used clothes online, one of the biggest mistakes I see almost every single sourcing trip is resellers who are thinking if there's no brand, there's no money. And that mindset is costing them a lot of profit because some of the highest profit items are handmade, one-of-a-kind pieces. No labels, which also means no duplicates and no competition. Stick around and I'll break down real sold comps of handmade and unbranded items. I'll show you what to look for, why buyers pay up, and how to spot these in the wild so you stop leaving money behind. Coming up. Welcome to the Empowered Reseller, where you got it just listed. Well, hey friends, my name is LeeMeier, and without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Sweaters are a very common type of item that you'll come across that are handmade. Maybe somebody's grandma or aunt knit these, I'm not sure, but they're pretty common, especially in thrift stores. And sometimes you'll have a tag where it's gonna show the name of the person who made it. Like this tag here where it says made especially for you by Lydia Byers. Now this sweater went for about $62 on best offer. And one of the tricks to getting these items to sell when they don't have a brand that people are going to be typing in is to make sure that you have the style of the item directly in your listing. For example, with this one, they use the word Fair Isle, and that is going to put this item in front of shoppers who are looking for that style of item. Bags are another type of handmade item that you may come across, although probably a little bit less frequently than knit sweaters. But with the bags that you're looking for, you're after the bags that are made of leather. There's lots of smaller makers who don't own a big brand, who don't have a big following, who don't have some recognizable label or designer. And the bag that you're looking at, this is such a cool bag with that fringe and beadwork. This went for $69 on best offer, but this is a great example of the types of items that a lot of resellers pass over just because it doesn't have a brand label. And that is a huge mistake, a costly mistake. This one definitely falls into the category of unique. This has a skull and crossbones theme going on with this one. Let me zoom in on that. It's also got purple glitter. And this is something that maybe was worn for a costume. I'm not really sure. Maybe somebody made it for Halloween. And there's always items like this at thrift stores, especially if you're somebody who frequents places like the Goodwill outlet, AKA the bins, because this is something that a lot of thrift stores may just pass over because it doesn't have a brand name attached to it. Even so, this sold full price, 50 bucks. And ethnic pieces are often handmade where you're not seeing a label attached to the item. And what you're looking at is a beautiful embroidered Mexican style dress. I'm going to zoom in on that embroidery so you can see the detail of that around the neckline. This dress sold full asking price for about 70 bucks. Many handmade items do tend to be vintage. I think a lot more people probably made clothes by hand back then compared to today. So you're going to see unbranded items commonly when it comes to older items. Stitching is going to look different. It's going to be different than mass-produced items. So this is a super cute apron dress, and it went full price for $75. And another costume here. As I'm filming this, this is not anywhere near Halloween, but these types of items really do sell year-round. I've got messages from parents who are so glad who have been able to find costumes for a child's birthday party. There's always a reason for people to buy costumes, even if it's not the fall, even if it's not near Halloween. And this is actually a handmade costume of Rapunzel. Now you may think that you have to have items like this that are from the Disney store or Disney licensed items, but that is not necessarily the case. With this dress, it's showing that it was listed at $75, but when I'm researching in Terapeak, it's actually showing $90 plus about $47 of shipping. I come across this every once in a while, but I can usually attribute it to it being an international sale, and I know that because of the shipping price being $47. And I did double check on the sale date of this item, and it was for sure after Halloween. And while we're on the theme of holidays, this is not technically an unbranded item because it actually does have a brand label, but it didn't sell because of that brand label. It sold because of these crazy decorations. It's got built-in lights. There's the brand label, by the way, just if you're wondering. It's got tinsel there and stars. It's got bows on it that you would use to put on gifts. It looks like all of these have been glued on. And this sweater sold on best offer for $60. Another handmade sweater. With these sweaters that are selling that are handmade, they're almost always extremely unique and have some sort of theme to them. With this one, it's got a little village on it. It's got this large tree on the back with a basket underneath. I'm not sure what that's all about. But it sold for $60 with a best offer. Keywords here in the title of Norwegian and chunky.
If you're getting value out of this so far, give me a thumbs up.
And this one is more of a plain looking sweater, but it still sold for a decent amount. I'll show you that here in a second. With this, it's just a simple two-tone cardigan. It's got those pockets there on the front, but blue background with that cream kind of squarish stripe there along the chest. A few stains here, but this sold with the best offer for $50. And a granny square crocheted cardigan. There are so many of these selling where they have this granny square pattern going on. Clothing as well as things like Afghans. It's the kind of thing that looks like it came straight out of your grandma's house. And they're selling for a surprising amount. This one sold full price for about $72. Another ethnic themed item. This is extremely unique. It has painting on it. You can hopefully see that there. And it's got this scene of people on it. There's a dog even. Not quite sure what is totally going on in this scene. But this skirt sold full price for $85. Now the keyword that I want to point out in here is a circle skirt. So rather than just calling it what it is, a skirt, it really helps when you can name the silhouette or the shape of the item, because buyers aren't typically going to find your item if you're being more generic. When you can be specific and really hone in on what they're looking for, that's going to help SEO, the search engine optimization, and help it be able to get your item in front of the right buyers. And a handmade elf costume. Now this one did sell after Christmas, and it just goes to show that holiday themed items really sell all year around. And this set, complete with that elf hat, sold for $50. Another style of handmade item that is selling really well, in addition to granny squares, are quilted items. They look like they maybe came from a bed quilt. And we're seeing this type of style, this pattern, show up in jackets just like this. They may be open front. This one does happen to have a belt with it. But we're not only seeing these types of items sell that are handmade, but we're seeing this pattern also influence mainstream brands. The same is true for those granny squares, by the way. But when you see that happening, you know it's a hot trend. Now, this one went on best offer for $130, but it is very common for these to sell for the $100 price point and more.
Now you're probably noticing with all of these sales just how important keywords are. With that said, down below this video, you'll find a link to get a free list of keywords. And if you'd like to take things one step further, my complete Keywords That Sell system is for you, complete with posters and guides with every keyword you'll need as a fashion reseller to bring in sales. You can purchase those products on their own, but honestly, the best option is to become a VIP of the Empowered Reseller Coaching Program. This is where I'm able to give live help. VIPs get access to a new sourcing box every single month, access to my course vault, VIP community, and more. And I give all of those keywords that sell resources that I mentioned, the posters and guides, for free as a welcome gift when you join. Everything is linked below, so let's keep going.
And more often than not, these Cowichan style sweaters, they almost always feature animals. So this one has bison on it. They almost never have a brand or any sort of marking in it. There is a small tear there in the lining with this one. There's the back. And this one sold for $120 on best offer. So keywords of Cowichan, and a lot of these style of sweaters also have that shawl color that you're seeing. So you'll want to make sure to include that in the listing as well as the title. And this is the exact kind of item that I see resellers pick up and think, this looks like it could be a good item. This is a leather vest and it has Sherpa lining. But once they see the label inside, that's when they make the mistake of throwing it back. For example, this one says made especially for you by Michaels. So I'm gonna assume based on the name of that is a small shop. It's obviously not some mainstream brand that everybody's recognizing or that anybody is online searching to buy. This does have a lot of wear to it, a lot of markings to it. Even so, it went for $81. This is a kid's sweater with kittens on it. They're chasing that butterfly. And it goes to show that all of these principles apply to kids' items as well. And this one did sell for the full asking price of $75. And we see that quilt theme even popping up in dresses. This one is so cool. It's got that patchwork design all over this dress. Definitely one of a kind, and it sold for the full asking price of $55. Now note some of the keywords that are used here in addition to patchwork and gingham. They're using the keyword cottagecore as well as upcycled and art. Those are the types of keywords that signal to your buyer that this is a one-of-a-kind item. Another example of an ethnic piece, this is a robe from the Middle East. Definitely a unique item, and also one where you're not going to see a brand label. And this sold for $55. And this one says it's from Palestine. I'm not exactly sure how you determine that, and I have personally not come across these in my area. What I typically come across are ethnic pieces from other parts of the world. But really the takeaway, there's a market for these types of items no matter where they're from. And this one sold for $60 on a best offer. And another quilted patchwork style item. These are so much fun and so colorful. This one actually does button down the front. A lot of these are open. But this one sold for $145. Now, one of the things that I want to point out in the title is this OOAK. That is one of a kind. That's what that stands for. I'm not sure if that's something that buyers are actually searching for though, so I would use caution with that and explain more in your description. Keywords like artware and patchwork are going to be a better use of your title space. This is what is called an upcycled item, where they've taken something old and then turned it into something new. And it appears to be possibly from the brand Sugar Street Weavers. If you haven't seen this brand before, go and look it up, but it has that weave to it and they always have some sort of theme to them. For example, this one has horses on it and it looks like the upcycling is the trim at the bottom as well as the neckline and the sleeves. It does have a tag from whoever did that upcycling. It says Revival Cult, but there's lots of smaller brands that are emerging with this business model where they're upcycling items. Now this is one where it is looking a bit funky when it comes to the sale price. So it's showing an asking price of $62, but when I go and look in Terapeak, it's showing $74 and then $20 for shipping. It's possible that this could be an international sale, but if you do know what's going on with this, drop it in the comments and let us know, because it's something that I do come across on occasion. Twice for a video is probably a lot actually. And another patchwork sort of waistcoat style vest. This even has tags on it. There's a Nordstrom tag there, Longchamp's tag there. I have to say that I've never seen anything like this before. That's the true definition of one of a kind. And if you're coming across items like this when you're sourcing, these are a definite stop and look the item up. If you're seeing other similar artsy items selling, that is a good indication. And if the sourcing price isn't too high, that's a great gamble. It's what I call an educated guess. And almost always these items not only sell for a high price, but in my experience, they also sell fast. And this one sold on best offer for $72. Now I want to point out some of the keywords. In addition to upcycled and patchwork, they also use the keywords of artsy and grunge. That's a really easy way to get in front of the buyers who are after that look. I may have even thrown in hipster with this one. And another waistcoat style vest. This one has such unique design on this one, sort of a medieval scene going on with this. And this is all needlepoint. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see that a little bit closer to see the amount of work that went into this item's got some sort of marking there. There's the back. So all of that tapestry and that needlepoint is on the front of this vest. It sold for $150. I could see this being something that maybe came from an estate sale. It's just the kind of thing you would come across at one of those. This is a super cool jacket. I'm going to show a lot of pictures of this because there's a lot going on here, but it's got this rickrack design that's sewn onto the top. It's got this kind of Native American aesthetic. There's some flaws here, and that can be a piece of handmade items, something that you're going to run into. You're going to notice that even things like the snaps aren't probably going to have any sort of markings on them. They're going to be a little bit more generic. But with these handmade items, they are one of a kind, and that's why these sell so well. I'm going to zoom in here so that you can see the stitching on the inside as well. The stitching on handmade items is almost always going to look different than standard items that you're going to find in a retail store. If you compare the two stitching styles, they're going to be totally different. And so that's a really quick way to be able to recognize items as handmade, in addition to the fact that there is no tag present. Now this jacket sold on best offer for $416. And that's the power of one-of-a-kind items like this. Extremely unique, no other item out there that is similar. Another great example of an ethnic item, this one is from West Africa and it's called dashiki. Now I had to go and look up this word, but this one did sell for the full price of $80. For me, I typically come across ethnic pieces from the Pacific Islands, but that's just based off of where I am. Where you are, you may come across items like these, or maybe some of those Middle Eastern ropes that we saw earlier. This is one of the things that I love about reselling, because you really can be profitable no matter where you live. And you're going to have different things than me. It is not about a scarcity mindset. There's an abundance of things out there where we can all be successful. Now, vintage dresses that you come across are often handmade, and there's nothing else like this out there with these types of handmade items. It's almost always a one of a kind. There weren't multiple of them made. And with this dress, it's not a well-known name like Gunny Sacks, and it still sold for $54. Now, the keywords in the title, they really do matter. And so I'm going to point these out. They've got calico and prairie, as well as cottage core. And when you list items like these with those keywords, the algorithms are smart enough to know that if somebody is searching for a Gunny Sacks style dress, this also has a very similar look. And because of that, the algorithm is going to show items like this, unbranded items, handmade items. It's going to show them and put them in front of buyers who are shopping for Gunny Sacks style dresses, because it knows that the two looks match up. And that's why keywords matter so much. Another one of these prairie style dresses that has that little bit of nod to Gunny Sacks. It's got some lace there. You can see that the seams of those are definitely not finished seams of what you would see coming from a mass producer. And like that last dress that we just saw, it's using the keywords of cottage and prairie. Now this one sold for the full asking price of just over $100. And this one is a little girl's dress. Unfortunately, not the best pictures with this one, but you can sure tell that it's a handmade item. It has a little bit of staining there on the front, a little bit of staining there on the back as well. But even so, this one sold for the full asking price of almost $100. And another possible costume, this is a homemade clown suit. Check out that print and that hat. This one sold for $71. And like that leather bag that we looked at earlier, use that with other items as well, like belts and hats. Even if you don't see any sort of marking on them, just because they're a higher quality item, they're made of leather and they have a unique look, those can be money. You don't have to be tied to just having brand names. This one sold for the full asking price of $100. And it's not a designer label, a luxury label. They simply found a quality item and then tied it with the keywords that matter. So the keywords in this listing that they used were biker, rockabilly, and western, and all of those fit this belt perfectly well. I would recommend with these style keywords like this that you use at least 3 to 5 in your listings. You can usually find that many that will fit the item.
If there's one thing I want this video to do, it's this. I want you to stop putting items back just because there's not a label. You're no longer guessing, you're making educated investments with a potentially high ROI. And in the next video, I'm gonna take this even further and show you some of the best aesthetics to be sourcing, brands or no brands. Just click here and I'll see you there.